Viewer discretion is advised.
Where's my... We're gonna need a... Roger that. Put your hand...
Fresh off the grill. Inquiry news. Hot, fresh, juicy news. Inquiry news. Dig in.
Hi everybody. Thanks for coming to my site. Love you everybody. Thanks for visiting. Welcome. Subscribe. Yes, if you could help me out subscribing to my feed. I don't do a lot of videos. The few that I do are hopefully good and educational. That's the goal of Query News, is to make them educational and fight back on the misinformation out there. And hopefully you learn something new from our videos. And let me know if you do, or if there's a video you'd like to see in the future, maybe put it down, or something that is out there that you're not sure about, like, UFOs or something, or just some kind of scientific stuff that you're not sure about. Let me know. Maybe we'll make a video on it. But by subscribing right now, that helps me have more members, and the more members I get, then I can actually make some money on YouTube, and that helps me make better videos for you and others. And so like and share with other people too as well is very helpful. Thank you. Give me some good comments below. I'll be appreciative, and I appreciate you, and really thank you very much. Hi everybody, this is Mark Fulton speaking today. Welcome again, and I got an exciting video for you today. Just one more thing. If you guys could donate some money to me and help us out, we'll be grateful. I'm not begging, because I do the work on the video, so appreciate, if you'd like to donate 100, 20 a month, 35 a month, or some money a month would be great. It'll help me out. And my camera equipment, a lot of my computer equipment got stolen, and so I can't replace it. I don't have the money to buy Photoshop again, or get other kinds of software like video editing software, stuff like that, the better stuff. I still got the cash for it because it's too expensive. But if you decide to be an angel and have some extra money in your pocket, and you go, hey, I want to help out Mark Felkins and Query News, and support them and give them some money to better their news, please, I'll put it here in the description down below, as well as up here, my PayPal number, and just go ahead and donate some money and help us out. I know you probably hear this from every video, I'm sure, out there, everybody asking for money, but that's what it makes the world go around, is money, and we're no different. The truth shall make you free. That's our goal, our motto, is to find out truth. We go out and try to look into the scientific journals and information, and research it out, make a video about it, and put it out there for you, so you don't have to. So you don't have to waste your time doing all that. We do it for you. So that's kind of what it is here. And me, I don't do too many videos because I'm kind of sick, and so being sick as I am, I can only do so much. And so by donating money, then I can hire staff or hire people, give them the money to do, look up the research and help me out and stuff like that, plus get the equipment that I need and things like that. And anybody that donates, I'll be happy to put your name up here if you want to, or if you want to remain anonymous, that's fine too. And when you click on it, it's going to pop up Felkins Works and Query News. Felkins Works was the head company, and Query News was the secondary company that I have. And so, just so that you don't get confused about what's going on there, Felkins Works is the one that made money in a different area, and then Query News was my goal to have a news organization until YouTube started doing some weird things. So that's where we're at right now. So please, if you could donate some dough, it would be most appreciative. I'll put it to good use, and maybe you can be my angel and throw some Benjamins my way, and or some money my way to help me be successful in making better videos and bringing. If you see anything out there that you think is false news or anything like that, and you want to get it debunked or anything like that, we might be able to do that for you. And throw us some money and let us know what you want us to make a video on. We might be able to accommodate that. So there's some things we might not be able to do because it costs so much money. I was just looking over some stuff the other day, and they want $500 for a scientific book. $500, and then there's other stuff and material in there at reference to, and they want 100 here or 200 there or 50 here, a bunch of money on the other stuff supporting that work, and it could get into the thousands of dollars. And then I got to read it and consume it and study it and find out what they're talking about and what's proven, what's not proven, and things like that. Then after I do all that, then I can make a video and to tell you in layman's terms what it all means. And so that's our goal in Corey News. And the truth shall make you free, because a lot of people sometimes will get notions about what is out there, or they get taught a certain thing, and then later on find out it's not true. And that's sad, very sad, that our educational system and things like that don't tell the truth. Or half-truths or untruths get into our educational system. And then people think it's fact, find out it's not later on. So anyway, let me know, and I sure appreciate you and everything. I got a great show for you today, and so stay tuned, and we'll continue on with our show today. And 1 second here.
Today I'd like to talk about crime. Talk about what we're going to investigate about. This video here coming up, I'm going to tell you about what we're going to investigate here in a little bit. But just before I do, we're going to say, what do you do about a crime scene? First, you look for evidence, like on the ground, and you see these gentlemen here dressed up all like they are for looking for DNA evidence, right? So that's one of the big things you may look for: a blood splatter. You find a body on the ground, take pictures of it, do an autopsy. You do a lot of scientific type stuff, check their blood, check their organs, do a lot of other kinds of things to see what they died from. And other kinds of science type stuff that you do. And you do these things to find out the truth. And you hope you do. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But you're always looking for clues. Sometimes you find footprints or tar tracks or other kinds of clues that you make molds or casts or other things. And the reason we have to do all that is because the criminal, or the people that become criminals, hide their tracks. A lot of these people hide their tracks because they don't want to be discovered. Why would anybody not want to be discovered? Well, if you're responsible for killing a lot of people or poisoning their food, or or you were the head director of a place and a bunch of people got hurt somehow. It wasn't really your fault, you didn't do anything wrong, but you were there, and a bunch of people got hurt, and so people might blame you. So the mystery is like going through a tunnel, and we're trying to figure it out. Trying to figure this mystery out. We're trying to find out and solve the mystery, and we're looking at the clues. And so the clues aren't always clear, and it's not always, we don't always know exactly 100%, or sometimes we do figure out 100%, but it's not always clear in the beginning where it might lead us down this tunnel, where we're going to go, what we're going to find. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't sometimes want to know it's the end of that tunnel. They don't want to know what the answers are. Sadly, they're in denial. And that's a sad time. I knew this lady that had a son, and she she brought me into his bedroom for some reason to show me his cool bedroom, and he had pot plant posters all over the walls. He had a pot pipe and some pot weed sitting on the dresser, and she saw it and she's like, "Oh, that's his friend's pot. That's his friend's pot pipe. That's his friend's posters on the wall. That's his." And then he had a big, huge bong in the room, and I mean, this thing had like 10 little hook things coming out of it, so like 10 people could smoke at the same time. And she's like, "Oh, that's his friends. He was gonna clean it for him. They brought it over just so you know. My son doesn't smoke dope or anything. He's a good kid. He doesn't do any of that." So when he got home, and you could smell in the room pot. I mean, it stunk of pot. Uh, so he got home. Oh, and he had a suitcase next to the bed. I don't know why the suitcase was there. It was a mystery. So anyways, it went on, and we left, and sometime later we were coming over for an appointment for dinner or something. And when we got there was all these cop cars, all these police going in and out of the house, and we saw him in handcuffs going into the police van, or police car, whatever. Anyway, we freaked out, so we left. We tried to call, and got no response, so we left. We took off. And we came back, called a few weeks later, and called her, talked to her, came over, and her son was arrested. Arrested for what? Selling dope, selling pot. And so, know the signs. So all those signs, and she still contested that it was not her son's pot. But what the clincher was the suitcase. When they opened the suitcase, there was over $1 million in cash there. Now, funny enough, the son goes, "Oh, that's mine, that's mine." That's my money. Now, he come to that being his money. But he didn't come to they only found a little bit of drugs in the house. But he did comp that the $1 million was his, that he had saved it up over a period of time from working at McDonald's or places like that, which was impossible. And so he took the money away. He took his drugs away. But he had a good reason why to lie. He kept telling his mom he doesn't smoke it, even though they did a test showing that he had, pot in his in his veins, THC in his veins. She still did the report. She still refused to believe it, no matter what clues, no matter what she was told. She refused to believe that her son was a major dealer in the area for drugs, and refused to believe that he does drugs. So when you find clues, some people aren't going to believe that you found a clue, even if they see it themselves. That's how bad of a denial it was. I blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. But when you're dealing with people, sometimes when it's their child, they just won't accept it that they did this. And so when you run into people in the government or corporations, they may have the same feeling. The corporation may say, "Oh, these people never do that," and stand behind them, even though they did it. And so you have to keep that in mind whenever you're looking at things, and that's why you got to look at the clues and look at the signs, because you just don't know what happened, and they may not know what happened. They just know what's the end result. So keep your mind open always. Look for the clues, and that should lead you to the truth, hopefully.
Warning, this video contains psychological nudity, profanity,
self-intellectual thinking, reasoning, and other things. If you feel this is not what you do or up to the task, this video is not for you.
This picture of a boiling water reactor containment is taken in the early 70s. It was taken at Browns Ferry, but it's identical to the Fukushima reactors. Now let me walk you through that as I talk about it. There's two pieces to the containment. The top looks like an upside down light bulb, and that's called a dry well. Inside there is where the nuclear reactor is. Down below is this thing that looks like a donut, and that's called the torus, and that's filled almost all the way with water. The theory is that if the reactor breaks, steam will shoot out through the light bulb into the donut, creating lots of bubbles which will reduce the pressure. Well, this thing's called a pressure suppression containment. Now, at the bottom of that picture is the lid for the containment. When it's fully assembled, that lid sits on top. The containment's about an inch thick. Inside it is the nuclear reactor that's about 8 inches thick, and we'll get to that in a minute. Well, this reactor containment was designed in the early 70s, late 60s, and by 1972, a lot of people had concerns with the containment. So in the early 70s, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission recognized this containment design was flawed. In the mid-70s, they realized the forces were in the wrong direction. Instead of down, they were up, and large straps were put into place. Well, then, in the 80s, there was another problem that developed. After 3 Mile Island, engineers began to realize that this containment could explode from a hydrogen buildup. That hadn't been factored into the design in the 70s either. Well, what they came up with for this particular containment was a vent in the side of it. Now, a vent is designed to let the pressure out, and a containment is designed to keep the pressure in. So, rather than contain this radioactivity, engineers realized that if the containment were to survive an explosion, they'd have to open a hole in the side of it, called a containment vent. Well, these vents were added in the late 1980s, and they weren't added because the Nuclear Regulatory Commission demanded it. What the industry did to avoid that was create an initiative, and they put them in voluntarily. Now that sounds really proactive, but in fact it wasn't. If the Nuclear Regulatory Commission required it, it would have opened up the license on these plants to citizens and scientists who had concern. Well, by having the industry voluntarily put these vents in, it did two things. One, it did not allow any public participation in the process to see if they were safe. And the second thing is that it didn't allow the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to look at these vents and say that they were safety related. In fact, it sidetracked the process entirely. Well, these vents were never tested until Fukushima. This containment was never tested until Fukushima, and it failed 3 times out of 3 tries. In retrospect, we shouldn't be surprised. Looking at the procedures for opening these vents in the event electricity fails requires someone fully clad in radiation gear to go down to an enormous valve in the bowels of the plant and turn the crank 200 times to open it. Now, can you imagine in the middle of a nuclear accident with steam and explosions and radiation, expecting an employee to go into the plant and turn a valve 200 times to open it? So that was the second Band-Aid fix that failed on a containment that 40 years earlier was designed too small. Well, with all this in mind, I think we really need to ask the question, should the Mark I containment even be allowed to continue to operate? The NRC's position is, well, we can make the vents stronger. I don't think that's a good idea. Now, all of those issues that I just talked about are related to the Mark I containment. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the reactor that sits inside that containment. So that light bulb and that donut are the containment structure. Inside that is where the nuclear reactor is. Now, on a boiling water reactor, the nuclear control rods come in at the bottom. On a pressurized water reactor, they come in from the top. All of the reactors at Fukushima, and 35 in the world in this design, have control rods that come in from the bottom. Now, that poses a unique problem and an important difference that the NRC is not looking at right now. If the core melts in a pressurized water reactor, there's no holes in the bottom of the nuclear reactor, and it's a very thick 8 to 10 inch piece of metal that the nuclear reactor core would have to melt through. But that didn't happen at Fukushima. Fukushima was a boiling water reactor. It's got holes in the bottom. Now, when the nuclear core lies on the bottom of a boiling water reactor like Fukushima or the ones in the US or others in Japan, it's easier for the core to melt through because of those 60 holes in the bottom of the reactor. It doesn't have to melt through 8 inches of steel. It just has to melt through a very thin-walled pipe and scoot out the hole in the bottom of the nuclear reactor. I'm not the only one to recognize that holes at the bottom of a boiling water reactor are a problem. Last week, an email came out that was written by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission right after the Fukushima accident, where they recognized that if there's a core meltdown and it's now lying as a blob on the bottom of the nuclear reactor, these holes in the bottom of the reactor form channels through which the hot molten fuel can get out a lot easier and a lot quicker than the thick pressurized water reactor design. Now, this is a flaw in any boiling water reactor, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission is not recognizing that the likelihood of melting through a boiling water reactor like Fukushima is a lot more significant than the likelihood of melting through a pressurized water reactor. The third area is an area we've discussed in depth in a previous video, and that's that the explosion at Unit 3 was a detonation, not a deflagration. It has to do with the speed of the shock wave. The shock wave at Unit 3 traveled faster than the speed of sound. And that's an important distinction that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the entire nuclear industry is not looking at. A containment can't withstand a shock wave that travels faster than the speed of sound. Yet all containments are designed assuming that doesn't happen. At Fukushima 3, it did happen. And we need to understand how it happened and mitigate against it in the future on all reactors. Now, I measured that. The scale, the size of the building versus the speed at which the explosion occurred. And I can determine that that shock wave traveled at around 1,000 feet per second. The speed of sound is around 600 feet per second, so it traveled at supersonic speeds that can cause dramatic damage to a containment. They're not designed to handle it. Yet the NRC is not looking at that. So we've got three key areas where the NRC and the nuclear industry don't want people to look. And that's, should this Mark I containment even be allowed to continue?
And there's a lot of reasons why these people would want to lie, the government or TEPCO would want to lie about their prior plants, because if they're unsafe, if they're built wrong, and those kinds of things, all those people could sue them, you know, that are there, all the people that could sue them for lots of money, saying you had an unsafe power plant, that you knew about it back in the or 70s, you were warned about it, that they could blow up, and you did nothing about it. Or you put this plug hole in there and knew that nobody could go down there while the radioactivity is going crazy, to turn a dial 200 times to relieve pressure. Excuse me again. You know, no one is going to go down there, you know, while this thing's shaking or on fire to turn that knob. You know, maybe should have been controlled by some kind of remote control, so you can flip open the, or actually, they have pressure nozzles that are built to automatically turn on. I know I've heard of them out there where pressure reaches a certain temperature. I mean, they have them for skydiving. You reach a certain altitude and it will pop your chute. So I'm pretty sure they have valves that will just after they reach a certain pressure will open or break open and let the pressure out. I mean, I'm sure they got something like that for this plant. And so they have pressure release valves that if they hit a certain temperature, they'll just automatically release so the place wouldn't blow up. I don't understand that expensive a plant. Why would they do that? It's ludicrous. Not to have some kind of valve like that in there that it would just automatically explode so that the pressure would release before it blow up like that. But I'm not sure if these things blew up the way they're saying. They're saying hydrogen was released. You know, that would take a lot of hydrogen to blow that building up. And I just don't think there's that much hydrogen in the cladding that's in there. You know, they release some hydrogen, but I just can't imagine it releasing enough hydrogen to fill that entire room up and to blow up. I don't know. That just doesn't make sense to me. So something else is missing there that we don't know about. But this guy seems to know what he's talking about, but I still feel that there's something else missing in this puzzle, because these were huge explosions. They weren't just small ones. They were huge. And I can't believe nobody in TIPCO did get, you know, blown up or killed from them blowing up like that. I guess they weren't in the area, thank goodness. But I think there was something more to these explosions. And I'm going to talk about a little more about hydrogen explosions coming up in a little bit. And I'll show you some hydrogen explosions. And we'll compare them and see what we think. We'll see what they look like. But anyway, so there's a lot of weird things. And then there's the deal where that not that many people died from the radiation. And I've been trying to find the video. I'm hoping to dig that out on the video of the people that died. Radiation poisoning wise. Excuse me about that yawn again. And so if I can find that, I'm going to put it here in this video. If I can't, then I'll have to do it in another video. But I'm still looking for it right now as we speak. So, about the radiated bodies. Anyway, so, okay, well, I'm going to cut off right now and come right back in a minute. And we will see if we can find that other video with the dead people. That's what I wanted to do. And then we'll talk about a hydrogen explosion, show you what they really look like, and compare them to this. Stay tuned, I got some more hot stuff coming up. Well, look at this. It says nobody died. Oh wow, Japan acknowledges the first radiation-linked death from the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Wow, they finally admit to one death. Amazing. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that it says here the Japanese government has recognized for the first time that a worker at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant has died as a result of radiation exposure. Oh, you think so? And the power plant has suffered a severe meltdown during the devastating Tokyo earthquake and tsunami in 2011. You think maybe some more might die? Or have already died? The man who was in his 50s died of lung cancer. And so it took him 5 years to die. That's pretty sad. As a result of being exposed to radiation, Japanese national broadcaster NHK reports he had been measuring radiation levels at the plant in the immediate aftermath of the meltdown. It is so they hold it back from us. They don't tell us the truth, so they don't want us to know when he died. Oh, nice. Oh, that's just sweet. Oh, don't tell us the truth. Yeah. Oh, well, here it is. On Friday, Japan's health ministry said the man who continued working at the plant until 2015 would be eligible for workers' compensation. Oh, well, that's nice. He gets workers' compensation. I think he should get a lot more than workers' compensation. I mean, there's people that died. They're getting $5 million for dying, and he gets workers' compensation. Tiny little bit of money. Unbelievable. It makes you want to go. Never mind.
Chernobyl and Fukushima. They're the scenes of the world's worst nuclear meltdowns, catastrophic disasters which apparently prove going nuclear is a deadly and dangerous option. But what if that is just over-exaggerated hype? Because no one died there as a result of radiation. And that proves that with one of the biggest meltdowns, no one died, therefore it's safe.
How do you come up with that conclusion? I'll never know.
No one died there as a result of radiation. And that proves that with one of the biggest meltdowns, no one died, therefore it's safe.
Liar, liar, your lips are on fire. Well, I guess your pants are on fire. Well, there's more people than that died, folks. Here's a Japanese report written in their language, so you can't read it, nor can I. So I translated it. This is where all the people died. This is beyond the one guy. Okay. And so here we translate it. Nuclear power plant related death, 1,369 people total, 136 people 1 year total mourning. Edition of March 6, 2016. According to the TEPCO Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant incident, after the evacuation, the person who died after the disease condition, that's part of the lung guy, and conditions worsened. When I interviewed the municipalities in Fukushima Prefecture, since the occurrence in March 11th, 2001, the total number is at least 1,360,000. I understand that I've become a person, casualty probably. Anyway, so right here, they're admitting to 1368. Now, one thing that it mentions is that they died, and like some of them were in the hospital, and I guess the power went out, I guess. And then, they didn't get water or medical help. And so some of the people in the hospital probably were abandoned, is what I think. And then they didn't get help. They were hooked up to a heart machines or whatever they were hooked up to get help, and then died from not having water or whatever treatment they needed. And so some died from that. I can see that. But I think I was reading another report where they had people laying down dead in the street, because I seen the photograph. And so there was this guy just laying face down in the street, and that was not from the tsunami. And so we should go on. Okay, and then we continue on. From the survey of the March last year, even now, nearly 5 years since the accident, nearly 9 million people, prefecture people, said evacuated life, or sent evacuation life inside and outside the prefecture, and the damage continues to expand. Nuclear power related death interviewed team in each prefecture, multiple, I can't even speak today, municipality, not only the direct victims of the Great East Japan earthquake, but also the deaths due to evacuation of life are said to be earthquake-related death. Okay, acceleration, disaster, coincidence, correlates, or how do you say that? And then it will go on here. Here's some more. I want to talk about it a little bit. The earthquake-related deaths. I saw some of the earthquake damage, and it wasn't all that bad. I didn't think. I mean, I have some video of the earthquake damage, and I saw some cement split. I saw some buildings rattle. I saw some things off the shelf, but I didn't see anything major damage. But maybe there is some I haven't seen out there. Maybe there's some major damage I didn't see, in some of these buildings. But I didn't see anything like a whole building collapse and killing people. I just saw, stuff in the building shake around and stuff like that. But maybe closer to the epicenter, maybe that's where some of the bigger damage happened or something. Anyways, from the survey of March. Oh yeah, we just read that. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I didn't see a lot of that damage, and I'm still kind of grappling with how do the people die from the earthquake, because I didn't see that kind of damage. This is money. Maximum 5 million yen is paid. Okay, mortality during the evacuation of nuclear disaster. Now, why would they pay 5 million yen to people out there, give them 5 million yen to different people that were affected by this disaster? That's kind of strange for the evacuation. And if they weren't harmed, I mean, why would they give them that kind of money? That's kind of strange. And each municipality, condolence money. Okay, why would they give them condolence money if they weren't affected by the nuclear reactors, application data, etc.? And this paper compiled nuclear-related deaths based on these items. The earthquake-related deaths reorganized by municipality in the prefecture are 2.28 as of April 4th of the 67% corresponding to nuclear-related deaths. I'm going to repeat that again. 67% correspond to nuclear-related deaths. Did I say that? Wait, let me read that one more time. Okay, April 4th. As of April 4th, of these, 67% corresponding to nuclear-related deaths. Okay, folks, it says right here in their own language, in their own newspaper, saying and admitting to 67% of the deaths were nuclear-related deaths. Right there in plain English, or you can read it in their own language, in their own newspaper. Okay, and so I'm just trying to tell you that how come it's not reported in all the news in the United States, huh? How come? I wonder. Okay, so now I just want to show you the dead guy. This guy, from what I gather, was, I think, radioactive, and so they couldn't touch him. So there's a dead guy. It's right there in the prefecture. He was near Fukushima. Actually, not real close to Fukushima itself. He was out of prefecture of Fukushima. Can't remember the exact place right off the top of my head. But anyways, I looked on the map, and he's in the dead zone area where you can't go in. Okay, and this journalist was allowed to go in there, and he said, if you wandered off the path just a little ways, you could find dead bodies all over the place. But they were asked not to touch them, I guess, or something. I was reading somewhere saying something about not touching them or something in another article, and because they were radioactive. So that's another point. So if you find a bunch of dead bodies, even if they got washed up ashore from the tsunami and this disaster went off, would you touch those bodies or not? I don't think so. And so keep in mind that what I just showed you about the deaths in Fukushima, keep in mind that those deaths that they have on that list I showed you, the map, with all those people, 380 dead and the others and all the different, those are only nuclear related deaths only. They're not the earthquake and they're not the tsunami. They're, I don't know why a newspaper or magazine or anybody in a magazine and print would put out false information, especially a popular one. But you know, I guess a lot of people do, and go to the trouble of putting a map down, and then on the map putting down where all the deaths are. That's kind of strange in my view. And then so they can have some legitimacy, I guess, huh? Come on. And they got this information from the prefecture people, and they went down there to the prefecture people, and they get this information from them and then publicize it, I guess. So it's kind of weird that they would say that to them and tell them that, yes, we had these many deaths. Here's a map of where they are. Here's what we consider nuclear deaths. It's horrible. And then now people are saying there's no deaths at all. And so somebody's lying here. So I don't know. It's kind of one of those things. I just think that that I don't think somebody's going to publicize the newspaper, a popular newspaper, and put down, oh, hey, guys, we had a bunch of deaths, and then make a map out for it and other articles on it, and other people make articles on it, and then turn around and then after some period of time, other news organizations get involved and say, oh, there's no deaths at all. Wow, that's a pretty big little explosion there, and you can see how bright it is there. So, pretty interesting. Anyway, related articles picked up by JICA, Earthquake Disaster Exposition in Ethiopia, Japanese embassy, as anti-nuclear as difficulty, canceled March 18th, governor of Tokyo, governor 3 times in 4 years, personal expenses, etc. 13 billion yen, July 14th, Mr. And I don't know how you say his name. I don't want to, if I say that, I'm going to make it look bad. Yes, such an emotion. Is that how you say it? No, I think I got it wrong. Anyways, July 14th, new cancer patients earned for the first time more than 1 million aging population. I'm going to go on. Everything was hunky-dory and everything's fine. There's no deaths at all. And then they come out and say, oh, yeah, there was 1 death. And then, but yet, that's not what they said in the newspaper. There was a whole bunch of deaths. Another thing is, who's going to do an autopsy on a person like that that's been radiated on these high levels, doses? I mean, that would be pretty scary. You'd have to be in a lead room and with a thick thing of glass, 3 feet of glass, and I don't know how thick, pretty thick room of lead. And then you have instruments to work on the person. I don't even know if you could do an autopsy in that kind of situation. That'd be pretty difficult. And then to tell how they died would be even more difficult. I don't even know if you could even do an autopsy in that condition, in that situation, or that scenario today. I don't even think we have the equipment to do that. So anyway, I thought I'd put my 2 cents worth in there and let me know what you think. And at the end of the video right here, I have a hydrogen blast done by a lab worker. So go ahead and look at it. This is running a little long, so we will do that in another video of hydrogen blast, what it might mean for the guys, for the Fukushima explosions. Here it is. Look at that. So, if you had a radiated body that was really radioactive, you want to put it in a lead container or something. You're not going to want to touch that thing because it'd be so radioactive. It could kill you. You could walk up to the guy and pick him up, and you would die. So if they're super radioactive, you're not going to want to touch those people. And so, picking them up or get them, you use a tractor probably to pick them up. I mean, oh my goodness, that'd be bad. And so, who's going to do an autopsy on a body like that and find out how they died? If you saw him in the mud like that, you can say, okay, he drowned. That's good enough. Bury him, right? And you scoop him with some kind of tractor, a long boom tractor, maybe something, really, maybe even like a big boom tractor. So you're way back there when you pick him up and put him in something, because if you get too close to him, you get the radiation. You're gonna die just touching the body, or getting too close. Like the reporter got pretty close to him, and probably shouldn't even have got that close to him. He probably got radiated from that body. So who knows how much? He didn't. I don't think he had a counter on him. But that's the point I'm trying to make, is that who's going to do an autopsy on a radiated body where you have to have, 3 feet of lead, 4 feet of glass, special tools to cut the body open, and then you'd have to have a specialized lab to do an autopsy. And I'm not even sure if you could do an autopsy that way, and it would tell you whether he drowned or whether it was the radiation that killed him, and then he fell down in the mud and died, fell down in that mud and died that way, or fell into some water where it was muddy, and died. I don't know I guess you'd tell if he had water in his lungs, but you don't know if he, was starting to have a heart attack and die from the radiation poisoning. He hit his knees, and if you notice, his arms clasping his chest, so that's kind of strange, too, because if you're drowning, your arms might be out, like you're trying to swim or something, well, here comes the water, oh no, you'd have your hands out swimming. Why would you grab your chest? If you're drowning, you'd have your arms out, not up to your chest, I don't think. And so that's another strange thing. So he's having a heart attack, he grabs his chest, hits the knees, falls forward into the water. Could have been easily still breathing as he drowned. He's being radiated, he's dying, and his last breath he swallows a bunch of water. So then suddenly now it looks like he drowned, but he didn't drown. He was dying from being radiated. So I mean, very easily could be done that way, and very easily could say, okay, he drowned. But the truth is that he got radiated first. And so, and how would you tell? Well, you could probably tell, well, his body's radiated. Then I'm sure there would be a way to maybe tell even further that radiation killed him first. Maybe. I don't know. It's a very, 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 very slippery thing to say that he drowned versus radiated. You had radiated accident, radioactive accident, huge one. And here's a guy dead not too far away from that accident. And, it's water that killed him because he's laying in a thing of mud. No water, just mud. So it's got to be, it must be water related, I don't know. So I think they're lying to us about how many people died there at TEPCO. Another thing is that I heard, and I'm going to have to do some more studying into this. I read it in an article that they brought in people from IEA, brought people in from another country to help with the cleanup. And they weren't even from Japan. They were from another country like Mongolia or somewhere else. So they brought them in from there to help do the cleanup effort with the plastic bags and stuff, and put all the 1-ton plastic bags full of stuff. And then they shipped them out. So and that was like 40,000 people. That's the rumor I heard. Okay. So if they had 40,000 people with fill these plastic bags up, and they shipped them back out, they could die in Mongolia and nobody would know. There'd be no statistics. So if you had 40,000 people there to clean up a little bit of the contamination and, make it look good anyway. And so they're cleaning up some of the contamination, putting it in the bags and stacking the bags up, millions of them, and then they ship them back to Mongolia or wherever they came from. I think it was Mongolia. I think I remember. But anyways, so you ship them back there, and then they die in Mongolia a few days later, or a month later, or a year later, or whatever. And it's related to them being exposed to the radiation. Well, it's not going to be on any records. That's 40,000 people right there that could have died from handling that stuff. Okay, so that could be a whole 40,000. Let's say out of that 40,000, 30,000 died out of that 40,000 that helped them clean up that mess around there. And there's still more. They still bring more in. They're still bringing more in too. So they bring others from the street, and they brought some from Mongolia, and so let's say 40,000 from Mongolia, and then they had another 10,000 from Japan, let's say. So 50,000 people. That's a lot, and maybe more than that. Since 2011. So. Or was it 2001? I don't know, a long time ago. So anyways, he brought in all these people, and it could very well be that all the people from other countries came in, worked, got, a big heavy dose, went home, died. And so how are you going to track those statistics? You're not. And so that could be like 40,000 people that died from handling those bags. Then you have your 10,000 that survived that are going to die eventually in another 5-10 years. They'll all be dead. And then you have, and maybe a few of them will survive that. Maybe a few will make it through. And then you have others they bring in, fresh ones, to help them. And those ones could also are going to get radiated. They probably end up dying. Okay. And so you got, and then you got ones that are local from Japan, and they're out there working, but they do the limited work. They don't do all the hard stuff, the real dirty stuff. They bring them from out of Japan in there. So it's that way their numbers look low. They don't show a lot of people dying. So they can keep the numbers down low. So, and then if the numbers start looking bad, they lie. Right. It's pretty terrible. So, I think disaster is bigger and more dangerous and bigger than anybody knows. I just get that gut feeling, and I start seeing report after report. I know nuclear waste is extremely dangerous. I've been told that by scientists when I was younger, and they've all told me it's extremely dangerous. And everything I've read when I was younger told me that. And then now they're all saying, "Oh, it's not dangerous at all. It's okay." Are you kidding me? You're nuts. And now it's everywhere. Now the United States has been polluted with nuclear waste all over the whole entire country. The whole world has been polluted from those plants, and probably still are being continually polluted with those plants as of right now. That's still spewing stuff out probably as we speak. Because those cores probably still haven't stopped burning yet. Probably not. They're still probably bubbling and in there. And so, and water does not stop all radiation. I'm telling you, it does not. Even heavy water doesn't. It may slow it down, but it doesn't stop it. You still get radiation. And so, otherwise they wouldn't put it in that big vessel with thick steel and thick cement and charcoal and all the other stuff they put in there. They wouldn't have all that stuff in there if it wasn't, if it was safe. It's unbelievable. So, anyways, so that was my 2 cents worth. I think I'm going to wrap up this video just here in a minute. I'm going to go see if I can grab a little video on and they won't show the videos of all the dead people. Another thing is, I want to say one more thing, is that if they have autopsies, I want those published too as well. But, probably, even if we pressure them for that, it's probably they don't have any. They're probably fake anyway. So, because who's going to do a radiated body